Hi, Rob from Order 42 here, and today we're going to be going over The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, which is actually Chapter 14, called The Tragedy. Because of the episodic nature of this show, it's very hard to talk about it without giving away spoilers. I will say that my rating for the episode is a solid 3.25 stars out of 4. If you haven't watched the latest episode, now is the time for you to click away. In the previous episode, Ahsoka gave our heroes the next step in their journey. On the planet Tython, there are ancient ruins of a Jedi temple. On the Seeing Stone at the top of a mountain, Grogu may reach out with the Force to contact a Jedi to possibly train him. The episode starts out with an adorable scene of Mando calling Grogu, and when he reacts, Mando laughs. When they arrive on the planet, they find the area that Ahsoka mentioned. As Mando searches for a switch or something to start Grogu's transmission, Slave 1 appears overhead. When he looks back to Grogu to hide, the transmission has begun. Boba Fett confronts Mando to retrieve his armor, and we find out that not only is Fennec Shand alive, but she is now in the employ of Fett. Boba Fett was the one that showed up at the end of Episode 5 last season, and he has saved her, which means that she is now indebted to him. At this point, they come under attack from stormtroopers, and Boba Fett uses his gaffy stick to attack stormtroopers in a way we've never seen before. It's brutal, and the way that the armor shatters brings up the question again as to why this armor is even being used. The stormtroopers use mortars and an E-Web heavy blaster like in the Season 1 finale. Shand holds them off with her rifle while Fett seizes the opportunity to get his armor from the Razor Crest. We finally get to see the awesomeness of Boba Fett dispatching trooper after trooper with amazing style, using his knee rocket launchers and finally his rocket launcher on his jetpack. And then, finally earning the title of the episode, the Razor Crest is utterly destroyed by Gideon's command cruiser, and Gideon unleashes the Dart Troopers to kidnap Grogu. Fett tries to chase the troopers using Slave 1, and this is the first time we've seen him in full armor on his own ship in 40 years, but he pulls away and says, "The Empire's back." He lands as Mando searches the wreckage, finding his Beskar spear and the silver knob, which is sure to come up again. Fett proves that his father Jango was indeed a Mandalorian foundling, restoring their status in the Star Wars universe again. Fett also says that until Grogu is returned, both he and Shand are in Mando's service. They all leave in Slave 1 to see Cara Dune and ask for her help. Now that she's a New Republic Marshal, she cannot be seen to get involved, but agrees to help Mando find Mayfield, who is the character Bill Burr played in Episode 6 in Season 1. The final scene shows Gideon watching Grogu toss stormtroopers around using the Force in a quite hilarious looking scene, although it may be signifying his dark side tendencies. Gideon taunts Grogu with the Darksaber and then has the child stunned and shackled. He then sends a message to Dr. Pershing that they now have their donor. So, as I said, I would give this episode a 3.25 out of 4 stars. The reason that it's not higher is simply because I've realized that The Mandalorian it's popcorn entertainment. It's not I don't know, this is probably not going to be a very popular opinion, but for me, lore is where I live. I love lore, and I love deeper integrations with the rest of the Star Wars universe. The Mandalorian is just not going to be that. There's going to be episodes that are better than others for me, but I think that's the thing where I find the show a little bit lacking, is that we get to see all of this really amazing, cool stuff, and it's cool action and all that, but there's no real additions to the lore, of Star Wars, at least not yet. And it's one of those things that I find a little, I wouldn't say frustrating, but it's a little off-putting for me from time to time, where it's just kind of like, okay, we've got the cool action scenes. Yes, that's all that's cool, but where's the meat, Like, the reason to me that the original trilogy has lasted as long as it is, it's not because of all of the cool explosions and the fights and all that kind of stuff. It's the meaning behind it. And I think that's what, or at least for me, that's what the original trilogy is. It's, you're learning more about the universe, and there's all this lore in the background that you can hold on to and read into. There's philosophies that are really interesting, and it's one of the things that I feel like The Mandalorian is just a little bit lacking. It's got the feel and the look right. I can't fault it in any way to that. But I just don't know if it's one of those shows where I feel like it's not going to mean much to the Star Wars universe at large. If that makes any sense. I don't know. I guess we'll see. One of the things that I was thinking about the other day was the fact that we never really got to see the Mandalorian be a Mandalorian or a bounty hunter very much. We got to see him do something in the very first episode, and then he immediately finds the child. And very quickly, his character is changing. And I wonder if it would have served his character and his arc and the sort of the greater meaning that I feel like the show is starting to lean toward. I feel like we might have should have seen the Mandalorian start out as a darker character, and maybe, you know, Baby Yoda, Grogu, the child, whatever you want to call him now. I mean, his name is Grogu, and they keep drumming that in, don't they? But I almost wish that he was introduced later, almost like if you could have told more stories with just the Mandalorian, and then slowly kind of changed it into, you know, him finding the child, and maybe by the end of the first season is when he goes and rescues him from, what is it, Dr. Pershing? Is that it? I just think that might have been interesting for his character, because I feel like his character really hasn't grown any in the last season. You know, I just, that's just kind of how I feel. And maybe we'll see more of that in these final 2 episodes, but I feel like for a show being called The Mandalorian, we haven't been focused on The Mandalorian very much. Or at least as much as I would have hoped. But it would have been interesting to see this I guess this guy that has questionable morals and his ethics in what he does, and then this child comes along and changes that trajectory. And it would have been, I feel like it would have had more of an impact to see him changing his character in a way that shows that he's starting to see the greater universe and how other people, other races are affected, and helps them out, you know, because of this child in his care. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things where people would say, Rob, come on, man. Come on. You got to move the story along. Yes, but not at the expense of character development, at least to me. Now, I can imagine all of the things that he'd done prior, but it would have been cool to see him make that change more, you know, and to see that change in his actions over time, instead of, okay, now for some reason I care about this child. You know what I mean? It's just strange. I'm curious what you think about this episode, and what you think about the show so far, and where do you think it's going? I mean, for me, I feel like it's going to be similar to last season, where we see sort of a coming together of some of our favorite characters, and basically to save little Grogu from Moff Gideon, and it's going to be interesting to see if they get further into where they're going with this. Like, are these you know, is he trying to do cloning? Is this a precursor to Snoke and the Emperor, or is this kind of, is he off doing his own thing? Maybe the Mandalorian could have used some more character development before you brought in this thing that changes his trajectory. Or do you think I'm way off base, and that, you know, stories, you know, that's what's important. You know, let's move the story along. I'd love to know your thoughts. So yeah, leave them down in the comment section below. And of course, if you like the video, hit the like button. I know you hear this all the time, but it's one of those things that really does help. And of course, if you're interested in more content, hit the subscribe button. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.